If we approve it now. Okay, if that's the case, if we only have executive session, and we approve it, possibly, then I know there is no reading, there's no calculation, I just have to show. Okay, well, can you do that? Yeah. I'm gonna be absent. Okay, okay. So if we only put that on the agenda, then I'm fine with that. Good. See, this one we talked about.
Once that sun gets behind the mountain, the temperature drops.
So time is. Oh. I left my pins on this.
Do we have a minute?
I have an extra pen if you want. It's actually 6.
Okay, you ready? Yes. So, good.
Okay, the time is 6:01. I will call to order this special school board meeting of the Garden Valley School Board, District Number 71. Today is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. As I stated before, the time is now probably 6:02, and I call this meeting to order. We start off with roll call.
George Simpson.
Robert Murray.
Morris Morgan.
Excellent. We also like to pledge allegiance to the flag.
Actually,
Not in.
no, we don't need to do that in special board meetings.
We don't need to do that, but can we do it?
We can do it, yeah.
Can we do it? Oh, here's the big one. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the new one. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve and adopt the agenda as listed.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Did you do roll call?
Oh.
Did I miss roll call?
Yes, we did. Okay, there is only one item for executive session, and we'll forego that item and not go into executive session, and we'll move into community forum. The community forum, excuse me. We'll do the community forum now. We're not going to do the executive session. So the public comment will be taken from the public on matters scheduled on the agenda. The chairman may interrupt or terminate an individual's statement when it's too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, repetitive, or irrelevant. A person wishing to speak on an agenda item should fill out a request to appear before the board, Form 4105F, and submit it to the board clerk before the meeting begins. These forms will be available at the sign-in desk or can be found on the Garden Valley School District.net website under policy 4105F. Please email these filled out forms to Melissa Smith at msmith@gvsd.net. We have one person who is requested to appear before the board. It's a wonderful young man, Bryce Rito. The floor is yours. You may want to get up here so that the microphone
Safe with him standing on a chair,
can pick your voice up.
because that's a microphone, yeah. And so that way the people on camera can hear.
You could stand up there. What you think? Turn the camera so it'll be on him for the
Oh, yeah,
audience
let's
at
turn the
home.
camera so it's on him.
Thank you.
There we are.
Perfect.
So my name is Brock Guido, and a few weeks ago I addressed the board, and our son watched it, and so it actually inspired him. He just went off and started writing on his own, and he actually just wrote a really nice speech that I was proud of him, and I just want him to be able to actually read it to you guys.
Thank you. Excellent.
My name is Bryce Guido. I am a student in second grade. I'd like a fair vote when it comes to teachers so we can keep good teachers. As George W. Bush once said, use power to help people, for we are given power not to advance our own purposes, nor to make a great show in the world, nor name. There is but one just use of power, and it is to serve people. Board, use your power wisely to help students.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you. Thanks, Bryce. Wonderful. Yeah. As I mentioned, we'll skip executive session. There was only one item. We can push it to the next meeting. Okay, new business. Item A, approve or deny coach compensation schedule for 2022 and 2023 school year.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, notice in your package you have a little schedule there. I'd like to point out in the first column is the proposed amounts that we have for the coaches. The second column shows the coaches' pay going back to 2007 through this year. There has not been an increase over those 15 years. And the third and fourth columns show what Rimrock pays their coaches and what we were able to get from Notice on their coaches. So it's a $300 increase per position, basically. And it fits within our budget as we're doing our budgeting for next year. And we'd like to propose that we approve those amounts. And our athletic director's here if you have any questions for him.
Yeah, I looked into that, and we haven't as a board, we haven't looked at the budget ourselves. And so I'd like to look at the budget first and just see it for myself. Some of those increases are a 30% increase to what they are currently receiving. But we've also through the years heard that we need to give our teachers more in order to keep them for the cost of living increases. And my feelings are that education is first and foremost what we do. Anything else other than education is extra, is cream, it's a nice to have. And so that's where I feel I'd rather focus on the teachers and see what we can do for the teachers first. So those are my 3 points that
I got a
Thank
question
you.
for Mr. Chandler here. Do you know what our net differential will be with these numbers compared to last year? What will our total differential be? I mean, a rough number. Is it going to be?
Yeah, it's not on here. Usually, it depends on whether the coach having benefits taken out of their pay, but it could be anywhere from 15% to 40%.
Well, I guess what I'm looking at is a
What's
dollar
taken
amount
out.
here, because if I look at this and I look at the compensation previous years here, I'm seeing that with the coaches we have here, it looks like it's going to be $4,000 to $7,000. I'm just kind of surmising here, but
Oh, when you said net, I thought you meant what was coming to the employee.
no, the
The
net
cost.
differential.
The overall cost. know if Lydia put it on this. Wasn't it around $7,500? Was it that much? I'll have to get that for you. I don't have that with me.
Okay, is it okay if we table this to the next meeting?
Okay.
Or we have
Maybe after the budget hearing.
Yeah, right. This
The budget hearing is the
is on the
next.
14th of June.
So this is needed to be able to do the budget.
That's what I would think, yeah.
Well,
But it's-
we'll
it's almost a
go ahead and write it in the
catch-22.
budget, They can either approve it or not. I want to ask one clarification. Are you proposing that we write something into the budget for a stipend for our existing teachers as well? Because we can do
It
that.
is not a concrete idea that I have. I have a type of principle where the sports in our schools, being a phys ed major, right? So I understand all the importance of sports and what they bring, whatever. My opinion is focus on education. We've got major increases in living. And I would hate to send a message, hey, look here, coaches got a 30% increase. And the teachers are out there saying whatever. So this is my personal feeling. I'm going to focus on teachers and I'm going to focus on education. I'd rather spend money on education.
So a couple of points I would make is teachers every year get a little bit of a raise from the state. This year it's going to be 7%. And they can get as high as 10% on the career ladder.
They move on the career, and they get that $1,000.
Right.
They
Exactly.
get
So,
$1,000.
so they will be getting a
We need to keep
raise
this important.
as it comes
Yeah.
through.
So-
And they get one every year, and the coaches have had nothing for 15 years. So while it may be 30% on one hand, if you divide that by 15 years, it's 2% per year.
And then we table this, but
So my personal view on this then is that I think that we should offer these to the coaches, these increases, as long as it doesn't destroy the budget where the teachers can't get their increase as well. Because to me, again, I look at this and I go, this isn't, in the grand scheme of our budget, this is not very much money. I know it is some money, but it's not a huge amount. So I guess we should wait for the budget to come out. but
Yeah, we can,
we can discuss it
So-
at that point.
are you,
we'll have it prepared for the budget.
are you gonna motion to table this till,
I think, yeah,
We don't need a motion.
You don't need a motion.
motion to do that?
I think
To table
You
it?
could just table it.
Okay, we're going to table the compensation schedule discussion for, the next, board meeting.
Your next special meeting.
Our next special, it'll be the budget meeting on June 14th. Yeah. Okay. All right, item B under new business. Approve or deny adding a temporary assistant business manager position.
So, our business manager, Lydia, has announced that she will be retiring after this next school year. And that is a very, very important position for our school system, and we need, someone to get in there to learn, the system and to be prepared to take over after she retires. We would like to advertise, obviously we do this internally first, for anyone that's interested in it, and add this assistant business manager and make the transition smooth throughout the next school year.
I've been, being treasurer, I have to meet with Lydia, or she has to be there, and I'm there to answer questions. And it's a discussion we've been having started more than a year ago, where Lydia was hinting and looking at that. So I think, Mr. Chair, unless there's any other discussion, I'd like to make a motion. Well, I'm reading.
Can we have the motion after you make your discussion? Or make your
I can do that. I move that we approve adding a temporary assistant business manager position to our school.
I second.
Discussion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Okay, excellent. So I understand the process is that you will post that internally
Adjourned for 5 days.
for 5 days. All right, excellent. Item C, under new business, change the due date for the letters of interest for school board trustees in zone 2 and 4 from June 9th, 2022 at 4 p.m. to May 30th, 2022 at 12 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, I reached out to the ISBA last week and spoke with the executive director, explained our situation up here with 2 board members having abruptly resigned, and asked what the rules, laws were around how long it had to be posted. She informed me that it's a reasonable amount of time, and I gave her the dates and where it was, and she said going with this new date would be more than reasonable from the standpoint of the statute, in her opinion, and she didn't have any concern with it. We have 4 applicants already for zone 2, is that correct?
Yes, we have 4 applicants for zone 2, and I'm expecting another one tomorrow.
Okay,
Also, but I believe zone 2.
and as of yet, we do not have any applicants for zone 4.
That's correct. No applicants for zone 4 yet.
But I'm not sure if you're planning on a special board meeting on May 31st, but if you do have one, that would be the day after this new deadline. You know, it would be an opportunity to interview candidates at that meeting, but that's
Right.
obviously your decision as a board.
That's,
There was an issue with the maps, current maps not being posted, and so that could have caused some delay as well. That being understood, it is also the prerogative of the board. Now, I do know that we might end up with 2 board members, but it is also the prerogative of the board to extend that, and we can extend it up to 90 days.
90?
Yes, we
Okay.
we can open it for 30, we can extend it for 30. If we don't like it, we can extend it for another 30, and then we have to make a decision.
Since we
But
have,
that's just on the information side of it.
since we have so many applicants for zone 2, I would say we should at least open it up to interview those people that are next available. If it's this May 30th, or May 31st, if we do
Would
a
be a
special one.
Tuesday, yeah.
would be when we.
I would rather get another board member in here as soon as we can, if we have the applicants already available for this, so.
Yeah, we can. The other thing that comes into this here is, must it be done at a regular school board meeting, or can it be done at a special meeting?
In the past, it's actually been at special meetings, as long as I've been here. But
Oh, because-
there is no specification as to whether it has to be a special meeting or a regular meeting, no.
In my recollection, it was always done at a regular school board meeting, because we hardly ever had special meeting, but that's immaterial. One of the things that is part of this discussion is how often are we still going to meet? Are we still going to meet weekly? Because I'm under a lot of pressure when it comes to my other,
I think we should do
Commitments.
one more of these, at least to get this other board member approved,
which is the week after next.
which would be the weekend.
2 weeks from tonight, yes.
No, oh, 2 weeks, yes,
2 weeks
not
from
2
tonight,
days.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And then we would have a
That would
regular
be-
one on June 14th.
14th.
It was.
Are you guys okay with that?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with
And
that.
At the end, we make it the end of the month.
Right,
Let's get
but-
next week and we'll do it after that. So
Okay, let's see, hold on.
I don't, I don't want to make,
1 week.
Right here.
I don't want to make all of the.
Or you-
The 31st is next week.
I'm sorry, it's 1 week from tonight.
You know, it's
31st.
May 31st is 1 week
Yeah.
from tonight.
So that
I
would
was
be,
gonna say, so,
that would be our last special one.
that's the last special one.
Right.
Now, we could do
Well, you could do June 7th.
June
That's-
7th,
That's the first
move it to
Tuesday.
June 7th.
You wanted to wait 2 weeks.
Okay, there is another suggestion. We could meet next week, but only have the approval of positions or applicants. That's the only thing we have, which means that there's nothing for me to read, there's nothing for me to do. I just attend, because not only the meetings, there are interviews on Wednesday, tomorrow that I need to be at. So if that's the only thing we do is accepting people for positions, then there's no prep on my side, and I can,
I'm okay with that. We shouldn't have much carryover anyways.
yeah, but we're also looking at the June meeting, which is the last meeting that Rob might be with us and wanting to get everything, because if there is trouble, because a new board member does not participate in the first meeting.
They'd have to be sworn in at that June 14th meeting, correct?
Yes, that's what,
Like if, let's say we met next week, you selected someone, they couldn't be sworn in until the next meeting, or can they be sworn in during the same meeting?
No,
it has to be at the next meeting, so.
So that means they wouldn't be a part of the budget meeting at 5:30, but they could be sworn in at 6 o'clock.
I don't think so. I think they have to, I need to look at the policy.
Or maybe they could be
Well,
sworn in before the
both
budget.
George
meeting.
and Rob
One
were
thing-
sworn in the same day.
They were sworn in, but they don't participate in the meeting.
They did, they voted at those meetings.
I need to look at the policy, but, I mean, we're gonna do whatever policy
I can-
says.
Yeah, we could.
Are you talking about school
Not
policy?
now.
We can
We
verify
can,
between now and then.
I can go home
Okay.
and read it. Do you wanna change the due date then? Because part of what we're gonna, whatever we do here is gonna affect whether we meet on the 31st or the 7th.
Yes.
And if we meet on the 31st, and which means we meet on the 7th again, and
Yeah, I would.
We don't
rather-
have to meet on the 7th again, do we? Oh, to swear somebody in? That's what you're saying?
I just. need to-
Special meeting
yeah.
to swear somebody in? So that they can participate in the June 14th meeting?
I don't know exactly where the policy is, but I do know that both George and Robert were sworn in and voted at that same meeting. They were sworn in at the beginning of the meeting.
But they were accepted in one meeting,
Right.
Yes, and then
and then
sworn
they
in.
waited a month, and then they were sworn in.
It wasn't a whole month that they waited.
We didn't have a special meeting.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Was it a whole month?
Yes,
Okay.
that I think is within the, like I said, I have to.
Oh,
read
you think that they
policy
have to
again.
wait a month before?
We just need to verify, we'll verify.
Okay, so
So
we'll interview candidates next Tuesday evening then for position, for zone 4 or zone.
No,
2?
they're not, it won't be closed, because we're moving it to May the 30th. That'll be 31st, okay.
That's
And then we'll get but then we can't put it in the agenda 48 hours before the time if we don't have the names.
You don't put the name.
Okay, great, wonderful.
Yeah, we
Put
should
it on.
be putting the names in the agenda anyway. I just put interview candidates for trustees.
So, clarity. We're gonna go with the proposal as it's written.
yes.
Except it's gonna be May 31st, right? Not-
The meeting,
The meeting.
no,
is special.
no. We go with this, and then at the end, when we make a meeting, it's the 31st, right?
Right, it's already done.
Yeah, it's already down.
It's already down there.
So that's gonna work for us. Okay?
That's what,
And I can actually email the information that I already have so that you guys can look at it
Thank you.
before,
I'd
instead of
appreciate
waiting. I don't have to wait till the 31st.
that's
I
excellent.
send you what I already have.
that. Sure,
Excellent. So,
you or me.
You want me to make a motion?
who's
Okay.
in motion?
I move that we interview,
No, change the date.
Change the due date.
meet up here?
C.
Yes,
Yeah, we're
C.
changing the due date to, just as it says.
Okay. I move that we change the due date for letters of interest for school board trustees zones 2 and 4 from June 9th, 2022 at 4 PM to May 30th, 2022 at 12 PM.
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion is passed. Okay, item D, under new business.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to approve the emergency school closure for Garden Valley School on May the 18th due to power outage.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Shouldn't be. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion is passed. Item E, approve or deny revision to 2022-2023 school calendar, adding New Year's holiday.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the revision to the 2022-2023 school calendar, adding the New Year's holiday.
I second. I can second.
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. Motion is approved. All right, old business. Item A, approve or deny amendments to policy 3305. This will be this, we're approving the second reading, of which there's to be 3 readings, correct?
Yeah.
It doesn't. So,
That's where we are.
Nothing changed from the first reading, so.
Okay, so question, page 3, item number 2. The last phrase, last part of that sentence is and/or expulsion at the discretion of school administration. Expulsion is a board function, not school administration.
Let's change it to recommendation of expulsion.
And that's the same thing in the next one.
Does that make sense?
Recommendation for expulsion?
Right.
Division 9. Expulsion at the, yeah, I do not know how to say that, but that's got to be school board.
And/or recommendation of expulsion. Right, at the discretion of the school.
Yeah, but school board comes up as
But
school
school
administration.
administration decides to recommend for expulsion. So-
Right, but
And-
it says,
And once I recommend for expulsion, then it goes into the expulsion procedure, which has the authority is given to the board.
right, so what I'm suggesting is that we separate the concept that the in-school suspension and out-school suspension, that's the administration that decides that. The expulsion, that's the school board.
Right.
And so we have to distinguish that because the way it's written now, it does not distinguish that.
And that's what I'm saying. I think if we add the word recommendation for expulsion, that's all I can do as an administrator. I can give ISS, I can give OSS, or I can recommend to be expelled
To school board,
to the school board.
yes.
So we want to say recommendation for expulsion to the school board at the discretion of the school administration.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
that's it.
discretion of the
That's it.
school administration refers to ISS, OSS, and the recommendation.
Correct.
Okay, we'll reword that.
Excellent. Good catch. And that's also the same in 3.
In 3A, correct?
3A, that's correct.
Okay. We'll make that change for the third and hopefully final reading next time.
But then outside of that, it just seems as if policy 3305 is becoming softer and softer and softer and softer. You know, it's like we're going to slap you on your wrist and then we're going to slap you on your wrist again. And if you should ever do it again, we're really going to slap you on your wrist. And yeah, I don't know. That's just my own feeling. It just seems as if we're becoming soft. I mean, it was
It
that.
depends on how you view ISS versus OSS. When you suspend someone out of school, there is no obligation to help them make up any work at all. And that kid is going to get behind 5 days, 10 days, whatever the suspension is. With an in-school suspension, they are required to do their schoolwork. They are separated from their classmates, and they're suspended, but they're still at the school doing their schoolwork. And the aim is
Right,
to keep educating them while disciplining them.
We had this discussion, I mean, the explanation when it came to us opening that position in the classroom or whatever, that being understood. My feelings on this, I mean, I still feel the same way. I just think we're becoming soft. I'm tough, I'm hard, and I'm just one vote. But that's my feeling.
I just
So
think
if I
it's
express
understandable.
my feeling over here, maybe, like sometimes having discussion outside of this venue, might change, might not. But that's just the way I think.
Sure.
That's just how I am. My kids still complain about it.
Yeah. And just, I'll say, when we rewrote this, with these proposals, that was never even considered. The consideration was to continue to educate these kids. Because when they are out for 5 days or 10 days and get that far behind, we still have to try and get them caught up when they get back. And this is a better avenue to keep them on task during that suspension time.
I think, Morris, this is part of that free and fair education doctrine that's out there, right? That there's really no other avenue
No,
for a lot of these kids, right?
I think we can expel them the way it was written.
I understand that, but because the government is basically making this free and fair education thing, it's got to be pretty egregious to expel a student.
Oh.
I know where you're coming from, but
We can still go expulsion
Yeah.
with subsequent offenses. But keep in mind, even if you expel someone for a year, you got to take them back after that year. And they're going to be a year behind, likely, because there's no alternative education opportunities here in the valley. So it's a real consideration as to where we go in the future.
Mr. Superintendent, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I look at this policy, it's really expanding what we do for ISS. It's not, the expulsion is still there.
It absolutely is.
It's really addressing ISS. That's really what, the way I took this policy.
But then on the other
We-
hand,
yeah,
I can also say, yeah, they're vaping, so what? Let it go. Yeah, I mean, there's bigger issues in the school. That's the other concept, that's the other idea. It's like, yeah. Anyway, these are all things that go through your mind when you're considering something, you pick your fights. So, want to send it to a third reading?
Yes.
I'll make
Yeah,
those
make the
changes.
changes and do a third reading. Okay,
we
excellent.
actually have to make a motion to do that.
So I can't make a motion.
So
Don't
Do
you
we-
just
do
leave
we
that?
need to make a
You just
motion
leave
on
it
that?
and then it goes to
It'll be the
reading.
third reading or the
Yeah.
third and final reading at the next meeting.
So we don't do anything
We
I don't
You guys
believe we
want to
need
make
to
it
make a
third and
motion,
final?
no.
I don't mind.
as amended?
Third and final? No, you just put on third and final and we make the amendments and we make sure that the amendments are made.
Okay.
Do you want to do it right now?
Yes.
No,
Well,
third and final, no.
No, okay, got it.
okay. Next.
You're
Okay,
playing with me, huh?
yes, I am.
No, Randy. You're playing with me.
Can't keep you on your toes.
Okay, item B, under old business, review a process and documents for an employee exit questionnaire/interview.
I'd really like to get this in place this week because it's the last week of school.
Right, so we have a
Our
chance
Teachers
to,
that are leaving, I'd love for them, it's anonymous, I'd love for them to give us some feedback so we have some things to look at to make improvements going forward, so.
I'm good for that as well. I've read this thing over
Yeah.
2 or 3 times. It
Yeah.
looks really good. It's relatively comprehensive, so I
It's
think
real
it's going to cover
comprehensive,
what we
actually.
need to do.
What's that document called? Is it going to go into policy?
It's my understanding, it's considered more of a procedure than a policy.
Okay.
So we wouldn't have to make it policy. We can just make it part of our human resources procedures. But I would call it the Garden Valley School District exit questionnaire.
As,
There you go.
as the title states.
You guys okay if I make a motion?
Yeah, excellent.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a process and documents for an employee exit questionnaire interview as per the Garden Valley School District exit questionnaire.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion is passed. Excellent. Old business, item C, discuss current Title IX policy 3280 and the ISBA recommended Title IX policies 3085, 3085P, 3085F1, 3085F2, and possibly approve adaptation of these policies. This one is,
Mr. Thompson, in regards to this, do you feel that this is something essential our school will need? Because, again, I think I asked this question last time I was here. Have we ever had a need for this? I think last answer I got was that we've never had a Title IX issue come up in our school.
There have been some. It's been a while.
A long while?
There haven't been any this year.
Wasn't it
until
1 2 weeks ago?
recently. But the real issue here is, it's the law. We have to follow it anyway. Okay.
So you're spreading resources or sharing resources.
No, I'm not talking about the consortium yet. I'm talking about the policy.
Policy,
Okay.
policy.
Title IX is the law. We have to follow it. These policies basically lay out the process for following the Title IX regulations. Okay. In order for us to join the consortium with Idaho City and Horseshoe Bend and share our resources for handling Title IX complaints, it's required that we adopt these ISBA policies, 3085, 3085P, F1, F2. Okay. So that's the reason it's on the agenda.
So I've been investigating. There are major issues with the way this Title IX has been, that the language in this Title IX as handed down from the federal government. Inasmuch that as of 2 weeks ago, it was on the Idaho legislature slate to be discussed, and they might knock it down. If they stop it at that level, they can. So the issue that I have with the way it is written now, Title IX started out as equality for women when it comes to sports that are being offered at schools or at universities or colleges. And now it's become something different, and the language in there is what I have a problem with. Firstly, let's say there is an issue in our school under the new definitions, and we have to discuss that. What is the appropriate language to be used to discuss particular issues that are listed over there? Under language, who decides what appropriate language is? Because it's not English as I studied it. Right? So somebody needs to tell us, and if we go to legal counsel tells you this is how you follow the law. It'll tell us how to do this. But my issue is, who decides what appropriate language needs to be used when describing certain issues? Because if we don't use the right language, we could be accused of something.
That's the issue I have with this whole thing, is that we're not lawyers. All this stuff is written by lawyers to benefit certain factions at certain times, right? And it depends on how the administration is set up, maybe the executive branch in both our state and federal, but this is kind of outside of our control as a board when it comes to federal law.
Right.
If the school wants to take the federal money.
So
right?
here's
No,
the-
but the thing is, whether we adopt this or not, if we don't follow it,
Right,
well, you know, whether we adopt it or not, we must still follow it, right? That's federal law.
That's what I said. in the-
However, we live in a country where we can question the government.
Absolutely.
We can petition the government. We can say that there is a problem, and that's one of the things that maybe for the first time I'm exercising now. But so my first issue is language. What is the appropriate language to be used in certain instances? And even now I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I can give you an example, but what if I use the wrong one? Really?
right.
Right?
Probably get in trouble.
Secondly, we need to look at the incident, but we also need to pan away and look at the panoramic view. What happens when one individual's rights infringes on another individual's rights? What happens when two individuals' rights are in conflict? That's the other issue I have that needs to be spoken about or resolved. And then fourthly, when reading certain, when reading like, I think it's 3085, it uses the term equity. Title IX started with equality. And they've taken equality out and they've put in equity in. And that changes everything for me. Equity and equality is not the same, even though it is portrayed as being the same. It is absolutely different. The terms look similar, but they are absolutely not the same. And equity speaks to equality of outcomes, and to ensure equality of outcomes, you take from one individual and you give to another. And so that is my issue with that, and it's something that the country is embroiled in right now, where you have parents up in arms because the implementation of certain aspects of equity, and here we are discussing it, seeing whether we should implement it or not. Those are my thoughts right now. Understanding that it's federal law, understanding that whether we adopt it or not, we have to follow it. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, so let's do a little civics lesson. We have checks and balances. There's legislative, there's judicial, okay, and then there's executive, all right? Regardless, as you said, and as I said, regardless of whether we adopt these policies or not, we have to follow the law, okay? But also, let's look at the flip side of that. If we adopt this policy and the law changes, that doesn't mean we have to stay with this policy, because the law, both legislative law and judicial law, supersede our policies, always.
Yes.
So I think we have protection in that. We adopt these policies. Right now, they're written according to how courts have interpreted the legislative statutes, okay? And ultimately, the Supreme Court decides the definitions and the language that you're talking about, all right? If, for example, we adopt these policies now, the law changes, a court case comes out in our judicial district that changes the interpretation of the law, we're not held to that. We get to follow, we get the benefit of that new court case that changes it. So I think there's protection both ways, whether you agree with it or not. On whichever side you fall on it, there's protection both ways, because ultimately we have to go with the judicial rulings on it.
Right, so a lot of what I'm talking about is implementation. You know, some of it is language. When I say language, it's the whole equity thing and how you, but that falls under implementation as well.
So we're being asked to adopt this though, for a purpose, right? So we can join this consortium. So is there harm to our school if we do not adopt this? Or do we just go on with the status quo?
If
Because
we
the
do
law
not
is-
adopt it, we can't join the consortium.
Right.
Okay, that would be, but we still have to follow the law, so.
Right. So if we have a whole bunch of events happen here, we're gonna be sitting there hanging out on our own, basically, without having any support, right?
Right, we're gonna have to totally handle them in-house. We won't have any help
So-
from the other districts.
And I know that we've been a little bit isolated here, but I can foresee in our future events happening just as these, where it would be advantageous, I think, to have some help. It's not again, I just don't want to continue to give away, not rights, but it's constant chipping away at our morals and values here is what I see in the end. And every time we give a little inch on these things, they continue to draw more. And I understand from a school standpoint, you guys have to deal with this every day. So it's in your wheelhouse every day, and it makes it much more beneficial for you if you have a group to share with, right? Where you can say, hey, this person's taking care of this, this person's taking care of this, move on, right? So in the end, what I guess I'm getting at, guys, is that if we get embroiled in something, we're gonna be on our own, right? Whereas if we get embroiled in something, we're gonna have a group to help us, I guess. It's the way I see this.
In order to be prudent, so I need to choose my words wisely. I hate to be herded.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But then again, we're not the ones dealing with this on a day-to-day basis too.
So,
So I totally understand the argument.
you know, the other concern too is if we join the consortium and we then per that adopt these other policies that are listed in under that consortium, let's say that whole thing falls away. Are we going to go back and say, hey, remember
Yeah.
a year ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, we adopted that and there were these other policies that were part of that and we need to now go back and strike them down? What if we forget to strike them down? Those are still in there. So
Well, and the way our policy is written right now, we're already in it.
Yeah, it's very
we
simple.
already there.
Yeah.
But joining the consortium requires us to adopt these other policies,
Right. Which are,
which if you read it, for me, the down is contains the word equity. Can we,
Right.
question, can we take the word equity out and put equality in?
I'm not a lawyer. I don't think we can.
I think we can, because we make policy. But then again, I could be wrong.
But if the court rules that equity should be in there, it doesn't matter what we have in our policy. And then we may be inviting a lawsuit on that very issue if we change the word.
Do we have? a
I
timeline?
think Senator Thane is big into this, and I know somebody who knows somebody. I've already sent him a text just to get more clarity on what's going on and just to do due diligence, because at least for me, if I go for something like this, at least I want to speak to somebody when I'm questioned and said, okay, this is what your stand is. Why did you do this? So I don't want to come across as being hypocritical. 1, 2, I want to do due diligence in what I'm doing. So speaking to education departments or people working with the legislature, I'd like to do that.
Do we have a timeline on this?
No,
So it's kind of open-ended, okay.
and also maybe if we got like 5 board members,
Right.
then my vote is inconsequential, which would be nice.
Okay.
I was looking for the word equity in this consortium memorandum, MOU.
It's under, I think it's under 3085.
It's under the
It's
policy.
not
Oh, I
in
have
there.
that. I didn't print those out again for this meeting because I had printed them out for,
You can go online and find it, and you can
I
save
have it
it,
right here.
and we can save
It's
a
in-
tweet.
Policy 3085.
I believe it's in that one. But you
How
can-
how did we let that get in there? That's what I-
No,
That's the
no,
proposed policy
that's the
from
proposed
ICA.
Oh, proposed.
and if it says.
That's the one that we have to adopt to join the consortium.
So I know exactly what you're saying. They're
3085.
conflating equity and
Right,
equality.
So that is the proposed policy.
right.
I read it, it's in your summary.
I didn't, that's what I'm saying. I didn't see it.
I read it.
It was in there?
Yeah, but then again, I've been wrong before. Maybe it's 3280.
Because it all,
3280, that's an existing policy we have already.
Oh, I didn't print it out for this meeting, so I just gave it to Rob. I have another one in here if you want.
It's available online.
Right.
Melissa.
Well, I know if they want to look at it right now.
I've learned how to use my phone.
because,
Almost, they just move it on.
okay. Well,
Then you can go back and read through this.
because when I read it, it was all about,
Table?
yeah, we're gonna table this until we get a larger board to discuss this, I think is appropriate. So, we're tabling this. Item C,
And D goes along with that. So D goes along with C,
Yeah,
right?
C and D are the two you're
Yeah.
talking about right now. Yes.
so we'll table as well. We'll table item. All right. Item E, under old business, discuss and possibly approve, approve the MOU with Idaho Digital Learning Alliance.
Yes, this has nothing to do with
Yeah, this,
our previous discussion.
Yeah.
This is the online academy that we use for dual enrolled classes, for classes we can't teach. It's very important, especially going into this coming school year. With the number of teacher positions we have open, we may have to use IDLA more if we're unable to fill all of these empty positions. So
Yeah.
we really need to be able
Yes.
to join this.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, both of my daughters have used this. It's a good program. It's works pretty good.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the MOU with Idaho Digital Learning Alliance.
I will second.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Item 12 says ADJOURN,
It's some French word.
which means adjourn.
Next meeting is on the 31st.
And we will have another special school board meeting on May the 31st, 2022 at 6 PM here at the Garden Valley School. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. That was excellent, by the way, Bryce.
Melissa, you turn the.
Oh, he did, yeah, I was gonna say, I was looking for him. Bryce, he was excellent.
So. I'm gonna be there next week.